The radical power of choosing love after loss, how grief transforms us when we refuse to let it define us. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I want to begin by acknowledging the extraordinary woman whose wisdom forms the foundation of our conversation today, Andrea Boyle. Andrea isn't just a visionary, she's a revolutionary who has single handedly transformed how thousands of women understand the intricate dance between grief and power. Her work has created pathways of healing for countless individuals, particularly Black women entrepreneurs who find themselves at that impossible crossroads where devastating loss meets the relentless demands of leadership. What makes Andrea's perspective so radical is her unwavering insistence that choosing to love again after devastation isn't merely a personal healing journey, it's an act of revolution. It's a declaration of power in a world that expects the broken to remain broken. We live in a culture obsessed with moving on, with getting over it, with bouncing back, as if grief were simply an inconvenient detour on our road to productivity, as if our worth as human beings is measured by how quickly we can pretend we're not bleeding. But what if we've been thinking about this all wrong? What if grief isn't something to overcome, but rather a profound teacher that can transform us into more authentic, purposeful, and deeply connected human beings? This is the counterintuitive truth I want to explore with you today, one that challenges everything our efficiency obsessed culture has taught us about loss. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that grief is the enemy of progress, that pain and productivity cannot coexist, that vulnerability and leadership are opposing forces. But the stories I've gathered through my conversations with Andrea tell a different story entirely. Consider Lynn Lewis. In August 2019, Lynn's world collapsed when she lost her son. According to our cultural script about grief, this devastating loss should have ended her professional journey. It should have diminished her capacity to serve others. It should have, at minimum, put her business on an extended pause. But Lynn made a decision that defies our cultural understanding of grief. She chose to live, truly live in the aftermath. This wasn't about getting over her son's death. It wasn't about moving on as if he never existed. It was about integrating this profound loss into her life's narrative and purpose. Lynn created Destined to Thrive Grief Coaching, a platform where she speaks openly about the realities of pain while modeling a kind of resilience that doesn't deny suffering, but transforms it. Her message, I choose to live in the aftermath, has become a beacon for countless individuals navigating loss while building their lives or businesses. When I asked Lynn about this choice, she said something that stopped me in my tracks. My son's death broke me open. But being broken open means there's more room for light to enter. What Lynn understood, what Andrea Boyle articulates so powerfully, is that grief doesn't have to define you by what you've lost. It can redefine you by what you become because of it. This is the first profound insight from my conversation with Andrea. Choosing to love and live after loss isn't just survival, it's an act of resistance and self empowerment. When we choose to love again after heartbreak, when we choose to create again after failure, when we choose connection after betrayal, we are not simply coping. We are claiming our power to write the next chapter of our story. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Our conventional wisdom suggests that grief is an obstacle to overcome before we can return to productivity, creativity, and purpose. But what if grief itself can be the catalyst for entirely new forms of work that would never have existed otherwise. This brings me to Jasmine Marie, founder of Black Girls Breathing. Jasmine created virtual breathwork sessions designed specifically for Black women coping with various stressors, including racial trauma, entrepreneurial burnout, and unprocessed grief from personal losses. What makes her work revolutionary is that it emerged from recognizing a profound absence, the lack of culturally competent mental health resources for Black women who face immense societal pressure to project strength even during adversity. Many Black women entrepreneurs find themselves isolated, managing both business demands and emotional turmoil alone, with few spaces where vulnerability is normalized rather than shamed. Through digital platforms and brand partnerships, Jasmine's organization has reached over 16,000 women nationwide. Participants report improved emotional regulation and reduced stigma around seeking help. The organization has achieved global reach while reshaping norms about self care among high achieving Black women. Black Girls Breathing serves as both model and movement, proving that sustainable success requires prioritizing wellness alongside ambition. This illustrates Andrea Boyle's second key insight. Grief can be a catalyst for growth, not just an obstacle to overcome. Many Black women entrepreneurs are creating new models for success that center healing, community care, and authenticity over relentless hustle. Out of deep pain can emerge projects, businesses, or movements that uplift not only yourself, but also your community. This pattern of transformation extends beyond American borders. Consider the remarkable story of Sudanese women entrepreneurs forced into exile due to conflict. These women used entrepreneurship not just for financial survival, but as a vital means of reclaiming agency and purpose amidst traumatic upheaval. Facing displacement related trauma and grief, compounded by economic uncertainty and cultural barriers abroad, many started family run restaurants and businesses serving diasporic communities. Through these ventures, they found solace and community connection. Daily work routines provided structure amid chaos. For these women, entrepreneurship became a lifeline, not only easing financial burdens, but restoring dignity and self worth eroded by war and loss. Women like Miriam transitioned from middle class stability at home into uncertain futures abroad, yet found resilience through shared enterprise building efforts. Their ventures thrived despite extraordinary adversity, demonstrating remarkable adaptability and resourcefulness. Their stories highlight universal truths about transformation following devastation, offering inspiration across cultures regarding possibility born out of perseverance and love for community. What these three examples, Lynn Lewis, Jasmine Marie, and the Sudanese women entrepreneurs, reveal is that when we choose to love again after loss, we don't just heal ourselves, we create ripples that can heal entire communities. This brings me to Andrea Boyle's third critical insight. Community support and vulnerability are essential tools for transformation. True healing happens when we stop pretending everything is okay and allow ourselves and others to be seen in our vulnerability. Building supportive ecosystems makes space for collective healing while breaking cycles of silence around trauma in what some are calling the soft girl era. This moment where many high achieving Black women are shifting from constantly grinding to finally grounding in joy, peace, softness, and self prioritization, we're witnessing a profound recalibration. Women are dropping the superwoman cape, learning to say no without guilt, and embracing authenticity as a spiritual practice. This isn't about weakness, it's about wisdom. It's about recognizing that our capacity to love ourselves and others is not diminished by our wounds, but can actually be deepened by them. When Lynn Lewis speaks to grieving entrepreneurs, she doesn't just offer strategies for managing business during crisis. She models what it means to integrate loss into a more empathetic leadership style. When Jasmine Marie created Black Girls Breathing, she didn't just offer a service, she created a sanctuary where vulnerability becomes a pathway to collective strength. When Sudanese women entrepreneurs built businesses in exile, they weren't just securing income, they were preserving cultural heritage and creating spaces where displaced communities could find belonging. In each case, what might appear as just business is actually a profound act of love: love for self, love for community, love for a future they choose to believe in, despite having every reason not to. This is the revolutionary perspective that Andrea Boyle's work illuminates: that choosing love after loss isn't naive optimism, it's a radical declaration of agency. It says, my capacity to love is greater than what has been taken from me. It says, my pain will not have the final word in my story. It says, I refuse to let loss diminish my ability to create meaning, connection, and purpose. Now, I want to be absolutely clear about something. This isn't about toxic positivity. It isn't about denying the reality of grief or rushing its process. It isn't about suggesting that entrepreneurship is the answer to trauma. The women in these stories didn't skip over their grief, they moved through it. They honored it, they allowed it to transform them. And then, in their own time, in their own way, they chose to channel that transformation into purpose. As Andrea Boyle so powerfully articulates, grief work and growth work are not separate journeys. They are intertwined paths that, when navigated consciously, can lead to a more authentic, purposeful life. So I ask you today, what will you do with your grief? Will you allow it to close you off from the world? Or will you allow it to crack you open to new possibilities of love, connection, and purpose? Because here's the truth that Andrea Boyle's work has revealed: the most revolutionary act in a broken world is to keep loving anyway, to keep creating anyway, to keep showing up authentically anyway. When you choose to love after loss, whether that's loving yourself enough to rest, loving your dreams enough to pursue them despite setbacks, or loving others enough to build community, you're not just healing your own heart, you're modeling a kind of courage that can transform entire communities. Imagine a world where we all had the courage to let our wounds make us more compassionate rather than more bitter. Imagine the businesses we would build, the movements we would create, the communities we would foster. This is the world Andrea Boyle is helping to create. And it's a world I invite you to help build. So today I challenge you to make one radical choice to love anyway, despite everything that tells you to close your heart, despite every reason you have to give up. Choose love as your act of revolution, because in the end, it's not our achievements that will heal our world. It's our courage to remain open hearted in the face of loss. It's our willingness to transform our pain into purpose. It's our radical, defiant choice to love anyway. Thank you